Ash Beetson and welcome to episode 7 of Comparing Bookkeeping Software. This time I'm looking at the balance sheet report, so following on really from episode 6 where I looked at the profit and loss report month by month, quarter by quarter, year on year with comparisons. I'm pretty much doing a similar thing this time with the balance sheet, and we're looking at Sage, Zoho Books, FreeAgent, Xero and QuickBooks Online. So let's have a start on looking at the balance sheet report in Sage. Okay, so in Sage now I'm going to pop to reporting and select balance sheet. And very much like the profit and loss report I looked at in episode 6, you have the option to try a new report which has some additional functionality. So I'm going to head straight to that option. And when you are in here, you've got the option of changing your date range, and in fact I will change that to last month, and I'll also have a comparison in there to the previous period, and very much similar to the profit and loss, you've got that as a percentage, a value, or both. So let me select both in this instance, and I'll choose to apply that and see what we get. So we have last month compared to the previous month. We've got a variance on any balances and variances as a percentage, which is great. That's the sort of thing I want to do. Let's see if I can do a similar thing just for last year or this year. So let's have this year. So I'll do this year to date, and you can put custom date ranges in there as well. And I will just have that on a year by year basis, and let's see how that pans out. So to the end of December 24, I know we're not there yet, and you can see what the balances would have been at December 23 and any variances between the two, and again as a percentage. So great, that's exactly the sort of thing that I'm after really, personally, for a balance sheet report. So that's great, pretty simple. Let's take a look at, see if we can do the same thing. Oh, just before I forget, when I looked at the profit and loss report last time, and I could see had the option of doing the same thing and actually doing a save as. So while I am here, I'm doing a save as, and I'm just going to put test 3 and balance sheet in here. And I'll put some other tests in, and I'll put this one in now. I did a very similar thing with the profit and loss report, and I couldn't find those, and I don't know whether it was just not refreshing at the time or whether I just completely missed it, but I do notice now that I've saved that, I can see it here. So when I'm actually come back in here, I can see I've got test 3 and balance 1. That's the test I did yesterday when I was playing around with this. So if I went back to let's just say back to the main product, back to accounting, the main page, and if I came back into here, reporting, balance sheet, report, in fact if I go try the new report, those saved reports, it's gone to year to date as the default, but that test 3 balance that I put in, and so my saved reports are accessible from there. I'm pretty sure I looked at it when I did the profit and loss, unless I just completely overlooked it, but that's where those saved reports are. Alright, so let's go and have a look at Zoho next. Okay, so in Zoho now, I will head to reports from the left, and I just created a favourite for the balance sheet. It was quite easy to do. I found it within Business Overview, clicked on the star, and it's within there now. So I'll just open up the balance sheet. And what I have found is if you do play around with some of these reports, so I did a this month versus last month, and it's sort of defaults to that view actually when I go back in here, so that's pretty useful. So you didn't have to really save that report as such because it's already saved as is. Although you can save and customize some of these reports if you wish. Now, if I do sort of a change, let's change this to have we got this year? This year. If I select this year, and I'm going to change my compare that with previous year and one column, so let me just apply that now. So I've got my sort of this year, I must set my financial year, as of previous month. I thought just this year, let's run report. Oh, there we go. So my financial year, that's what I thought, is March 25. So at the moment I've got financial year to March 25 and my financial year, which would have been as of March 24. So I can see here my balance sheet totals at the end. Now what I haven't been able to do, and I have, whether it's here and I've just not found it, a difference in a value or a difference as a percentage. What I did find, if we go to customize the columns, there's not a lot you can do in here, but there is this option I found, a percentage of column, that simply has the balance sheet values as a percentage of your within the balance sheet. So it doesn't, not comparing this year versus last month, or this year versus last year, but what you would see is the value of assets, the total there is 100%, made up of 32.5% accounts receivable, 67.5% within the bank, and again you can turn that off. If I come back in here, that percentage column, I could take that tick out of that box and just remove that. So in terms of the balance sheet, again, there's not a huge amount really that I think we can do here, so apart from change the date value, the date range that you're running over. You can sort of run over multiple periods and compare multiple periods, but it's not actually giving you that comparison as a difference in a value, a difference as a percentage. Not that I've found anyway at the moment. So there you have it. There's your balance sheet report. Let's take a look now at the balance sheet in FreeAgent. Okay, right, in FreeAgent now. So let's go into accounting and reports. And we've got our balance sheet right at the top. One thing I did notice about the balance sheet, which threw me a little bit to begin with, and it's just what you get used to, is that, so for current assets, is that this appears, so the total of current assets appears at the top, where again I'm just used to having that total at the bottom, and I think one of the reasons for that is we can sort of collapse these groups from the left, so you can minimize the the summary of the balance sheet, which is can be quite useful. And also, again, something that threw me is that your debits, so your assets and your liabilities, your debits and credits are sort of almost like separated, sort of not quite old-fashioned, but in some ways. But that's how some of the balance sheet reports that used to be created some time ago were set up in a very similar way. But it works, and again, it's what you get used to. What you can't do, so there isn't again, so like with the FreeAgent profit and loss, there was a nice comparison between the profit and loss, this month versus last month, or this month versus last year. You don't have that comparison functionality in the balance sheet in FreeAgent. Now, my understanding is, FreeAgent is probably for smaller businesses, so they might not actually look at the balance sheet that much and might be more interested in the cash flow position. And it makes me think, well, actually, from the main homepage, you can see what your cash position was this month, last month, and 2 months ago. And actually, in my next video, I think I'm going to concentrate on what is available on the homepage for each of these softwares, predominantly the cash flow sort of report, if you like. But back to the balance sheet report in FreeAgent. So you do have the option of looking at what the balance sheet values are as of now, as of a custom date, as of last financial year, the financial year that we're in, even though we're not at March 25 yet, but basically it's year to date, isn't it really? And what is quite a nice touch in here is that you can see what were your opening balances position when you created it. So I only had one opening balance, which was from the bank when I set this up. But that's your balance sheet. Pretty straightforward, fairly simple. For many small businesses, it probably do what it needs to do. If you're a little bit larger and you do want those comparisons, not quite there on that one. All right, so let's have a look at Xero next. So in Xero now, I'm going to head to accounting, and within my reports, I've got balance sheet already there, I can see. So I'll just open up the balance sheet report. And I've just created a journal because I realised my balance sheet had no values in, so at least I've got something to look at now. What I noticed, the same as last time when I looked at the profit and loss in Xero, is that, so if I actually change this, let's say to the end of last month, and we can have a comparison, let's say of 1 month, and if I update that, so we've got August 24 versus July 24, and you can do the same year by year, compared to last year. Now, one thing I mentioned when I looked at this in the profit and loss is that I can't sort of see a difference between, what is the difference between August and, so that would be the difference being nil and the percentage difference being nil. Now, there isn't a basic, sort of comparison like that already, but if I do choose this option here to edit the layout, I've noticed, and thanks for a lady on one of the Facebook forums, and I apologise, I've forgotten her name at the moment. So these are the columns that are already coming through from this report, and I can choose to add a column with a formula, and that formula can be, so if I insert, let's say August minus, and then insert July. So I could put a heading in there, difference, update the layout. So what I have now here is a difference between August and July. And if I choose to actually edit that layout again, and add a column, a formula, and we'll put in here, so insert the difference, and then divided, perhaps I need to use the symbol just in case, divided by, let's put July. I can't remember if it's the right way around, and then if it's not, then it would be divided by August. I can't remember now. If I just choose to put percentage difference, update the layout, so let's just take a quick look at this. So if I just come down, there we go. Look, so I've got what was the balance in July? What's the balance at the end of August? It's gone down by 1,600 quid, and that's a difference there of minus 45.5% down. So that's great. So that then I do have my comparisons, although I just didn't know it was in there automatically. But you can do it, and then you can save this as your custom report. So I could choose to save as custom report. I'll put balance sheet diff just for speed. I'll put diffs, and I'll just save that as is now. And then you will find that within your in your reports, within your custom reports. If I come into reports, And there we go, custom reports at the top there. And there's my balance sheet diffs. So I can just open that up. I'll have that report. So you've got your balance sheet, just like you have, your standard balance sheet basically, but you've also got that nice comparison that you can create, and you can do the same in your profit and loss as well. I just wasn't aware when I recorded that video. So there is your balance sheet report, and like you can also in all of these software packages, you can export them into Excel PDF. All right, let's take a look now at the balance sheet report in QuickBooks Online. Okay, QuickBooks Online next. So from the left into reports, and I know I've already got a balance sheet report in here as a favorite, so I'll just choose to select the balance sheet. Scroll up to the top a little bit where we've got our date options that we can select, so you can choose your own custom date or select a date from the drop down. So let's just choose that to be this month, and we can choose to compare against another period. So I can choose to compare, let's go with the previous period, and you can do the same period in the previous year. I'll just leave it at that. And you've got also your percentage change or percentage or value difference. So run the report. So we can see what we are: September 24, August 24, what the difference is and the percentage change. If I did want to actually run this over multiple years, again you could, so let's just, I could go from 1st of January 23 to 31/1/24, and I'll take off the comparison reports within here and choose to put in the totals displayed by years. So you can, so we've got Jan December 23, Jan December 24, so you can look at your balance sheet over multiple years. So I don't know if I was running that from 2022, although I've got no data in there for 2022, I can run the report because there's nothing in 2022, but we can see the years with the values inside. And again, with the reports here, you can save them and customize them just like you can in Sage, Xero and Zoho. You can also customize those reports too. So that's your balance sheet report. Really, very easy to manipulate. I say, if I just go back and change that to, let's go this month. Let's do last month, and again just choose to display the values by months, and then again go back to select the previous period with a change and a percentage, run the report. So now we've got August 24, which is the current period, being compared against July 24, the previous period, and you've got your change and your percentage change. So very easy to make some adjustments. So there's your balance sheet reporting in QuickBooks Online. Okay, so there is your balance sheet reporting. Now in QuickBooks Online, Xero and Sage, we were able to produce the balance sheet report with a prior period comparison with variances as a value and as a percentage. I wasn't able to do that in Zoho. You do have the previous period sort of comparisons, but you don't have the variance values as a percentage either. The balance sheet in FreeAgent is pretty basic, but it is geared to much smaller businesses generally, and they may not be looking at the balance sheet in that much detail at the moment. Probably more focused on profit and loss, cash flow, and that leads me to look at what is available on the dashboard by default when we log into each of these different bookkeeping packages. So quite often we're seeing a sort of cash flow graph and other tiles that we can click on with regards to unpaid customers, unpaid suppliers, other little notifications that we might see when we basically log in. So that's going to be episode 8. looking at what's on our dashboard. Please, any comments, put them in. I will take a look at anything that I might have missed. Feedback is always appreciated, and please like and subscribe if you find this content useful. Thanks for watching.